A big hi to everyone. Warm welcome to the lecture on averages and partnership. So, I guess so far you've been enjoying the lectures on this particular channel. So, we'll continue our journey on the aptitude on this channel. So, here we go on the averages and partnership. So, what I do is I will deal with the averages for a longer time because partnership is a much simpler concept. And even within the averages, I will deal more with the simple average. And then we'll talk about the weighted average. Although the proper application of weighted average, which is in the form of an allegation, would be in the following lecture. So in this lecture, we'll focus more on the averages and some of the techniques and the concepts that you should know under the averages. Followed by, we'll also take a look at the partnership. That's primarily the agenda for this particular lecture. Let's get started on this note. Let's dive into the averages. I know it's a simple primary school concept. It's not even a high school concept. It's a pretty simple primary school concept. I'm sure all of you would be knowing the basic definitions of averages and how to calculate a simple average. Nevertheless, solid without taking it for granted. Let me spend quickly a couple of minutes on it so that like we'll get acclimatized and we become familiar. Maybe about the first 15 minutes, we kind of do a bit of warm up in the first 15 minutes so that we sink into the lecture. And as we sink in, let's explore some of the techniques that may be required, not only to solve the averages portions dedicated on averages, but also sometimes there's a nice concept being used in data interpretation, also in logical reasoning. So it's one of the nice concepts. Solid average is one of the very great concepts to resolve the issues in a faster manner. So therefore, the proper understanding of this is going to be essential, not only with respect to the quant preparation, but also in with respect to the data interpretation and logical reasoning. So let's get on to this. Let's get on to this. So this is a simple definition, as you know, of the averages. I'm talking about the simple average. So what do we do on the simple average? We sum up all n quantities, assuming that we have n observations. We have n observations, right? So whereas, so let's say first observation is A, the second observation is B, and so on. A is the first observation, B is the second observation, C, D, and E, say these are the values of the 5 observations. What do we do? If I want the average, of course I need to add up all these 5 values. Because I added 5 values, I need to divide by 5. That's a simple definition of the average. So one thing I want you to remember, whenever they give the average, shift your attention to sum. Shift your attention to sum. It's a simple technique. Let's shift your attention to sum. This is what your high school, primary school teachers would have said. So whenever the average is already presented, which means that authors want to focus on the sum. So whenever the sum is presented to you, which implies that sum is presented, shift your focus to average. Right now, these are some of the key words that you would have learned from your primary school, maybe still fresh in your mind. Right? Whenever the average has been presented by the examiner or the one who is setting the question, so you will shift your attention to sum. Whenever the sum is presented by the examiner, so you will shift your attention to average. I should know this like these are like the two sides of the same coin, right? Two sides of the same coin, head and tail, kind of two sides of the same coin. That's the underlying key word that you kind of remember through this particular chapter. For example, if I say permutation, what is the key word that you recall from the word permutation? Arrangement. All right, a permutation is the technical word. What do you recall? Recall is the arrangement. That's something which will be hardwired anybody who was in the high school mathematics, right? Similarly, when we talk about the word combination, what is the key word that comes into your mind? Absolutely, selection, right? So these are the key words associated. All right. Now, similarly, average and sum are nothing but two sides of the coin. This statement would have been made by every trainer, every teacher. So therefore, I'm sure, all right, now this would be lingering. This would be fresh in your mind even today. Fine, let's take a look at this. Therefore, let's take some simple examples. Therefore, we know, given the average, how to find the sum. Given the sum, how to find the average. We kind of know about this. All right, these are pretty hygiene factors which everybody would be comfortable out here. Let's take a look at this example which has been presented to us. Simple example to start with to illustrate this point. The sum of 6 numbers is 312. What are the 6 numbers? No idea. The numbers can be A, B, C, D, E, F. They can be 6 numbers, not given. But then the good thing is the sum has been already given. The sum of all 6 numbers is given. Good. So therefore find the average. Sum is given. Sum is given. Therefore shift your attention to average. That's a pretty direct. I'm just driving home the point, right? So therefore what I should be doing here, the average A. Average is nothing but 312, that is the sum, divided by 6 observations, right? So that is nothing but 52. So therefore the average of the given 6 observations is 52 because the sum of the 6 observations is 312. Next one, pretty simple one. So this time the average has been presented. Average of 12 observations, 12 numbers. What is the average? Average is presented. What is the question? Sum is question. What is the average of 12 observations? 15. Average is 15. Technically average is 15, right? Given average is 15. How many observations here? 12 observations. Therefore, what is the sum? So sum is equal to number of average. 15 is the average into number of observations. How many observations? 12. That gives me the sum, which is nothing but 180. That is the sum. Right, pretty simple one. I'm sure all right, now all of you fall in sync with this pretty quickly. All right, let's understand few things, few ways of doing this. One of the important things, sometimes the numbers will be presented in AP from our exam perspective. Let's also understand that, assume sometimes the numbers would be given already in the AP. In that case, finding the average is simple. If you have followed through my some of the previous lectures, I'm sure this will be pretty fresh in your mind because I keep talking about this, right? So therefore, AP is one of the important series having a pattern. Any series, set of numbers having a pattern is always a good sign. Sometimes, more often than not, in the exam, people use the numbers which have certain pattern, all right, now, so that the smartness quotient can be tested of the individual. Are they able to grasp that smart figures given there or not? Right, let's take a look here. 64, 67, 71, 75. If you look at these numbers, you understand that, hey, there is a gap of 4 between the numbers, so keep adding 4 to it. All right, you get the next series. Keep adding the 4 to this, you get this, right? So therefore, if you look at the number of observation, 1, second one, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and 7, there are 7 observations. We know that, okay, when there are 7 observations, the middle number is nothing but the arithmetic mean. So 79 is the arithmetic mean. That's an average, which means I don't have to do any calculation here. Author was expecting, tell me the average. Fair enough. The average is nothing but 79. Simple way to present it. So my point is, be aware, be mindful. This itself cannot be a question. I'm just doing the hygiene factors a warm-up. I'm doing a warm-up for you. So just the hygiene factors should not go out of your mind, which you typically learned during your primary school around the class 6 and class 7. Then of course you consolidated those learnings during your high school. I'm quickly reminding you before I set on all to further learning. So find the average of these numbers, 67, 71, all of this. Now this time, what is the same series? After 91, I added one more number, which is 95, which means now there are 8 observations. There are 8 observations here. 4 plus 4, 8 observation. How the average can be found out? You can add the first and the last, divide by 2. That's also fine. You can add the first and the last, divide by 2. That gives the average. Or you can add the second and second last, divided by 2. Or you can add third and third last, divided by 2. Or you can use the 2 middle numbers and divided by 2. Generally, people follow this instruction. They generally add the middle 2 numbers. Not necessarily you can add any numbers. Right, technically the sum is 162. Think about this. So if you add 67, let me take this particular case, the end case, that is 67 plus 95. If I add the two extreme cases, that is 67 and 95, sorry, yeah, if I add the two extreme cases of 67 and 95 and divide by 2, so all right, now, so what is this particular number? 162. 162 divided by 2. All right, now divided by 2. Great. Now think about this extreme here, the two middle numbers. Think about the two middle numbers. If I think about the two middle numbers, it is still the same, 79 plus 83 divided by 2, all right, which is also nothing but 162 by 2. Either ways, it's fine. You can add the two extreme numbers and divide by 2. You can add the two middle numbers and you can divide by 2. Or you can add the second number with the second last number and you can still divide by 2. Either ways, it's fine. So why divide by 2? Because you're adding only two numbers. When you added two numbers, why do you divide by 6 or 7? So because you added only two numbers. If you added two numbers, you better divide by 2. But while adding those numbers, you need to be mindful that those two numbers have a pattern. If it's the first, then you should consider the last. If it is the middle, if there are two middle ones, then you should take the two middle ones, right? Now that pattern has to be followed. All right, that's something that you got to keep in mind. Now let's take a look at this. Now we want the average of these particular numbers, right? Average of these particular numbers. One way is what? Add up all these 5 numbers, because there doesn't seems to be any pattern here. All right, they are not in AP or something like that. There is no pattern to this. All right, there is no pattern to this. Therefore, what you do? All right, because even if you think there is 678 is the smallest number, then I have 684 as the second smallest number. All right, now so then I have, all right, now this is the third smallest number. Is there a pattern to these particular numbers? Absolutely no pattern. One way is what? I add up all these 5 numbers and divide by 5. Pretty good. Second one is what? When the numbers are thick and thick, which means neck to neck, the numbers are little closer, we assume one of those, we assume the average. We assume the average. Just because we assume something that need not be true. All right, that need not be true. But then we can assume the average. I would say that, okay, whenever you are assuming the average, technically assume the nice number so that the calculations can be done faster. Let's say that my assumed average is 700. I assumed my average to be 700. Or just because I assume my average is 700, the answer won't become 700. Right? Just because I assume my average to be 700, will my answer be equal to 700? Of course not. We all know that. All right, we all know that the average, because just because we assume 700, the average won't become 700. Pretty good. So, but then therefore, what I should be writing here? Deviations. All right, if it is the deviation, you assumed it. You go to every observation and make a deviation. Look at the first observation, 728. What is the deviation? Plus 28. You assumed it to be 700. So therefore, how much more from your assumed average? 28 more. Good. Okay, go to the second observation and write the deviation. What is the deviation there? 45. All right, deviation is 45. You went to the second observation and you wrote it as 45. All right, that's a deviation of that observation. Great. Go to the third observation. What is the deviation? 15 more than your assumption. What was your assumption? Let 700 be the average. All right, now let's go to the fourth observation. So what is this? Minus 22. 22 less than your average, because you said that your average is going to be 700, but it is 678. So what about the last one, 684? You're saying that my assumption, this is 16 less than the assumed average. Assumed average, the deviation is 16 less. The signs are important. Plus and minus is important, right? Okay, now what do I do? Add up the deviation, do the calculation on the deviation. If it is a plus, add. If it is a minus, subtract. So there are three plus signs here. Three plus signs here, all of which turns out to be 88. All of which turns out to be 88. All right, this turns out to be 88. Good. All right, and then I have two negative signs here. Two negative signs. This is plus 88. Okay, you can do it in one go. I'm just illustrating my point. Okay, and here it is. All right, here it is going to be 38. Here it is going to be 38. Right? Yeah. All right. Yeah. So therefore, all right now. So minus 38. This is minus 38. Okay, what is the deviation therefore? What is the net deviation? 88 minus 38, which is nothing but 50. That's a 50. All right, this 50 is the deviation of how 50 is the net result of how many deviations? 5 deviations. There is a first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. 5 deviation. This is the total deviation. Basically what you wrote here, total deviation. Total deviation is plus 50 because of how many observations? 5. 50 divided by 5, therefore plus 10. What you are trying to say is, look, your assumption was 700, but it has to be technically a correction factor. From your assumption, a correction factor of plus 10 has to be considered. Therefore you would say that, okay, my net result is nothing but 700 plus 10, which is equal to 710. We'll explore this deviation method as we go along. This word deviation is very, very important. Technically you learn this in the high school, right? Technically you learn this in the high school. This word deviation is very important, which means we assume something. When the numbers are thick neck to neck, we assume something and then we proceed to do the calculation. Now these techniques are little important when you are doing your not only the quant, while you are doing your LRDI also. This concept of deviation plays an important role, all right, to understand the problem quickly and to resolve the issue quickly. This understanding of deviation is a keyword. I will explore. I'll revisit this point again. I will revisit this point again with a word-based problem. Let's go there in a while. So all right, let's proceed. Okay, now I'm helping you to recall the progressions. I helped you to recall a little bit. Then I helped you about the deviation technique, all right, that you kind of understood. All right, let's go here. Let's take a simple example. Let's do a drill for another 5-10 minutes, a small drill. Then we will proceed. Simple chapter. A student calculated the average of 5 numbers as 13. But by mistake, he took one of the numbers as 12 instead of 21. Find the actual average of 5 numbers. Pretty simple 7th standard question. Technically, 7th standard or 6th standard question. If you're writing any entrance exams in the 5th standard to go for your boarding schools, it can even come in the 5th standard exam. Right? Okay, nevertheless, let's do this. A student calculated the average of 5 numbers as 13. Good. So therefore, sum. I said that, okay, whenever the focus is on average, why don't you focus on the sum? Therefore, sum is 5 observations. The average is 13. Average is the 13. Number of observations are 5. Good. Therefore, what is the sum, friends? Sum is nothing but 5 into 13. Good. That is the sum. So what has happened while doing, by mistake, he took one of the numbers as 12 instead of 21. How do I make the correction? Remove the wrong rank value. So you have all the 5 values, remove the wrong value. All right, instead of 21, therefore make the correction, bring back the revised value. Find the actual average of the 5 numbers. All right, now, so this is the correction. This is the sum. This is the correction on the sum. Sum was supposed to be 65, but you made a correction. That is 13 into 5 is 65. You made a correction, removed 12 out of it and added back 21 to it. Therefore, the sum has become 74. This is the sum of how many numbers, by the way? This is the sum of 5 numbers. So therefore, what you do? Divide this by 5. Divide this by 5. The result become 14.8. All right, the result would become 14.8. That would become the average of the given numbers. That would be average of the given numbers. Pretty good. Simple one. Simple one. All right, simple one. I'm just helping you to recall. All right, now, so how do you quickly put the word problem into the equations? All right, let's go to the next one. The average temperature on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday was this. The average temperature on Thursday, Friday, Saturday was this. Or in a particular week, or let's put data is this. If the average temperature on Saturday was this, already why is already talking about average temperature on Saturday? Because if the temperature on Saturday is this, okay, temperature on Saturday is 27. What was the temperature on Wednesday? Question is simple. All right, now so on Wednesday, what is the number? That's a question. On Wednesday, what is the number? Good. If you write an equation, it looks like this. Wednesday temperature is W. Thursday temperature is T, Friday temperature is F. Let's say Friday temperature is F. All right, what is the sum, friends? Sum, if I write it as 25, I would be wrong. 25 into 3. Why? Because the average is 25. Sum is not 25. Whenever the average is given, I said shift your attention to sum. So therefore the sum is how much? 75. Good, keep that in mind. So then what did he say? So then he said that if I consider the average of Thursday, Friday and Saturday, the average is turning out to be 24. Great, 24. But how many numbers here? 3 numbers. Therefore multiplied by 3. Multiplied by 3. Good. So if I take the difference, solve. All right, now basically I'm solving difference. Subtract the second one. Therefore you would say W minus S is equal to 3, because this number is 75, this number is 72. What's the difference here? The difference is nothing but 3. Great, already you wrote it as 3. So therefore, and also the temperature of Saturday is given, which is 27. Therefore W minus 27 is also equal to 3. Therefore W is nothing but 30. Simple proposition, pretty simple one. All right, that's how you could have constructed the equation for the given words, the word-based problem, word-based. All right, let's go in here. What we do is, let's bring in the deviation. Look, we understood how to write the equation. We understood from the first 2 examples, right? Yeah. Now let's again, I said that, okay, let's go back to the deviation slowly, gradually with the word-based problem. Let's revisit. Let's go back to the word-based problem here. The average weight of 19 students in a class is 24. Find the average age of the class if a teacher weighing 64 kg joins this particular class. We'll do by both the methods. How the primary school, the middle school, class 6 or class 7 child or class 8 child would consider this problem and doing. So they would do something like this. The average weight of 19 students is 24. Pretty good. All right, what they do is, all right, they'll take 19 students, 24. This becomes how much? The sum. That becomes the sum plus all right, they'll say that now the teacher is coming in the play. This is the sum of 24, all right, sum of 19 kids. All right, 19 kids, sum of the weights of 19 kids taken together. So then you'll say that the teacher is coming in 64. All right, now so it is the sum of the weights of all 20 folks. Now, hey, why 20 folks? Because 19 students are there and a teacher got added to this. Therefore there are 20 people now. So divide by what? If I want the average, what I should do? This is the sum should be divided by 20 observations. They do this particular problem to get to the result. All right, 19 into 24 plus 64. They will take some time. They will multiply this. No issues. All right, they'll do all that. Not a worry. All right, then they'll divide by 20 and they'll get to the answer. All right, this is method 1. Pretty simple. No big deal. All right, yeah. Next one. Let's take a look at the deviation method, friends. Let's understand slowly, gradually understand. Even the critical problems, I suggest that you have to do it mentally by using the deviation method as you go along. Okay, the 19 students is 24. Assume there are 19 students. There is a student number 1, student number 2, student number 3, like this. All right, there is a student number 19, 24. For time being, assume that everybody's age is 24. Time being, assume everybody is 24. Weight is 24. Everybody, we equated it, which means they had different weights. What we did is we brought to the common platform, said that, okay, lucky that everybody is 24 out here. Great. Okay, if the average age of the class, if a teacher weighing 64 joins it, assume now the 20th person comes in there. Who is the teacher? 20th person comes in there. Who is the teacher? What if the teacher also weighs 24 kg? What if the teacher also weighs 24 kg? Then the average does not change, because why? Simple concepts we know. All right, if you add the number, all right, whose value is same as the average, then the average does not change. All right, now the average also lies between the bigger of the given number, smaller of the given numbers. These are some of the hygiene things you will be knowing, right? Average always lies between the bigger of the given observation and the smaller of the given observation. It should lie between. It cannot go less than the smaller observation. It can't be more than the bigger observation, right? So these are the hygiene factors. Hey, what if I reduce 2? Already, what if I reduce 2 out of every observation? Then the average also get reduced by 2. What if I add 2 to every single observation? Then the average also increases by 2. Hey, what if I multiply every observation by 2 times? Then the average also becomes 2 times. These are all very hygiene factors you would have learned in the middle school. That's class 6, class 7, class 8 kind of. You would have learned there. Okay, I'm not going there. Let me introduce you to the deviation. This is how I want you to do hereafter. 24, assume that everybody was 24. It won't be unlikely. It is very unlikely that everybody would weigh 24. 24, but assume it like that. What if the teacher also comes with an age of 24? Teacher also says that, okay, teacher also is not age, teacher also has a weight of 24. Then the average does not change. But the point here is the teacher is 64. Okay, therefore look at the deviation. Look at the deviation. Hey, what is deviation? Hey, it was 24. All it now it was all 24. But the teacher is 60. So 60 means how much? What is the deviation here? 24. So teacher is 64 kgs. 24 plus another 40, another 40. Now what you got to do? Distribute the deviation among all 20 folks. Distribute this deviation among all 20 folks. Now you said that let the assumed average be 24. That's what you said. Let the assumed average of all 24 folks be all 20 folks, because 19 students and a teacher be 24. That's what you said. Okay, if it is 24, now this man has 64. Hey, what is the deviation? 40. Good. Now what I should do with this particular deviation? Distribute this deviation among all the 20 folks. Distribute this 40 among all 20 folks, which means what I'm trying to say, I'm trying to say that, hey, give 2 here, give 2 here, give 2 here, like this. All right, now keep 2 for yourself also, keep 2 for yourself also. All right, now that's what you are trying to say. Therefore my average, revised average, has become 26. All right, find the average age of the class. Now average age of a class including the teacher, now it has become 26. Pretty simple mental calculation. You look at this 24, teacher also you give 24, you say that, man, 40 is the deviation. What I got to do this deviation? I got to distribute this deviation. Fair enough. Distribute this deviation among how many folks? Among 20 folks. Therefore it has become 26. That looks like the average. That's a deviation method. Technically I want you to do it in your mind. All right, now technically should happen in your mind if the question is of this particular difficulty level, which is far more elementary. All right, yeah, but then the focus here is on the, for attention is what? Attention is not on the question alone, attention is on the method. Right, all right, let's proceed. Let's go in here. Let's take another one, same information, but this time something else has been given. The average weight of 19 students in a class is 24. That's how we started the previous question as well. If the weight of the teacher is also included, the average becomes 26.5. Find the average weight of the teacher. Assume that, what if the average, just like the way we did in the previous question. Let's do precisely the way we did in the previous question. Student 1, student 2, student 3, we had student 19. The average is 24. It is unlikely, but let's assume everybody was 24. It's unlikely. I'm only telling it is very unlikely. Right now, but let's put it like this. All right, now assume everybody was 24 kgs. Good. The weight of the teacher, what if the teacher was also, all right, what if the teacher was also 24? No problem, then the average wouldn't have changed, but the average has become 26.5. Oh, very good. Okay, 26.5 means what? Plus 2.5. Here also plus 2.5, plus 2.5. Likewise, all right, even to himself, the teacher also had, to himself or herself, another 2.5. Teacher has to add. Okay, which means that is that red one, what I have written is the extra the teacher is bringing. Teacher is bringing this 24 on the table, which means teacher is bringing that weight 24, plus the teacher is bringing extra, which got distributed across 20 folks. All right, this 2.5 got distributed among how many folks? 20 folks. All right, now you would have simply seen the difference. 2.5 into 20, all right, which is nothing but 2.5 into 20, 50. Therefore you have to add up all these numbers. You will say that, hey, plus 50 more. All right, 2.5 into 20 plus 50 more, 50 plus 24. Therefore you are saying that, hey, the teacher's weight was 74 kgs. Well, teacher's weight was 74 kgs. Why? Your assumed average was 24. What if the teacher was also 24 kg? Then the average wouldn't have changed. But the point here is the average has changed. It changed from 24 to 26.5. It changed by 2.5. In fact, it increased by 2.5. Therefore, you said that 2.5, it got increased for how many folks? 20 people. So therefore, 20 into 2.5, which is 50. You add that to the 24, all right, which is supposed to be your existing average, to 24. 24 plus 50, which is 74. In the sense, what is that I'm trying to do in the deviation method? What do? We assume something and we proceed, right? That's what I'm trying to say. We assume something and we proceed. We look for the deviation from there, and then we'll do the adjustments, right? Which is a lot more easier. All right, which would be a lot more easier. Great. All right, now let's keep that in mind. So I just debunked the equation method here. So I directly did it by the deviation. Technically, this can happen right in your mind. That's my point. Okay, let's take a look at this question. Let's take a look at this question. Okay, I'll give a minute for you, friends. Now that I introduced the deviation method, take out your copies, the book, pen, the note. Take out. Why don't you quickly push your pencil? If you were to write something, write it. If you want to do it in the mind, do it. Whatever the preferred way, but do it. Read it and do it. Yeah, good. The average wages of a worker, average wage of the worker during a fortnight, during the fortnight comprising 15 consecutive working days was 90 per day. The average turned out to be 90 per day. During the first 7 days, his average wage was 87 per day. And the last 7 day, it was this. What is the wage on the 8th day? In fact, 8th day is the middle day, right? First 7 is gone, the last 7 is gone. You are left with the middle day, technically, right? Now, so you have day 1. So I guess all of you understood this. Day 1, day 2. All right, likewise, I have day 7. So now I have a day 8, then I have day 9, day 10, etc. up to day 15. Now, these are the last 7 days. These are the last 7 days, and these are the first 7 days. Correct? These are the first 7 days. Last 7, first 7. Therefore, I am left with this middle day. He is asking that why don't you tell me about the 8th day? Great. All right. So now look, average of all the days is what? 90. Average is supposed to be the 90 given. Average of all 15 days. All 15 days has to be 90. Perfect. But what happened on the first? No, look at this. Average should be 90. Look for the deviation only. First 7 days. How much is this? 87. 87. All right. First 7 days is 87, friends. It is 87. The average of first 7 days is 87. Good. What is the deviation? Deviation from where? Of course, deviation from 90, because it has to be 90. The deviation from there. Good. So deviation from there is nothing but -3. -3, the sign is important. I told you the sign is very important. -3 is the deviation, because 87 is the average. All right, now -3 is the deviation for how many days? -3 is the deviation for how many days? 7 days. Therefore, what is the net deviation? -21. The first 7 days have given me a deficit of 21. That's a minus, or that's nothing but -21. That's a net deviation of 7 days. Perfect. All right, now let's look at the last 7 days. Let's look at the last 7 days. What is the average of last 7 days? 92. Last 7 days is 92. Perfect. All right, 92. Look for the net deviation here. Therefore, all at 90 and 92, the deviation is deviation is +2. For how many days? For 7 days. Last 7 days. Therefore, what is the net deviation? Net deviation is +14. The net deviation is +14. Okay. What is, all right, now the resultant of all 14 days deviation? What resultant? Total resultant. What is the resultant of all these 14 days deviation? -7. -7, that is the resultant. Now look at this. Now who should compromise, right? Who should contribute this -7? Day 8. Day 8 has to contribute, which means what? Day 8 has to contribute for itself, that is 90. Day 8 has to contribute for itself because the average is 90, and it has to compensate for this -7 as well. It has to compensate for that -7. Therefore, +7, it should become 97. Why? Because this net deviation is plus -7. That has to be compensated. -7. All right, now -7. What is the complement of this? +7. So thereby, already it gets thereby the net deviation becomes 0, because the average is given to me as 90. So there is a -7 deviation. How do I make it 0 deviation? You can make it 0 deviation by adding 7 to this deviation. But then the day 8 has to supply for itself first. What do you supply for itself? How much? 90 per day. The wage is 90 per day plus 7 more. Therefore, day 8, this person has earned 97 rupees. Simple way. So then once you understand this deviation technique, these numbers will pop up just in your mind by looking at this. You look at this 90, you look at this already, you look at this 87, you will say that the 20 -21 comes in your mind. You look at this 92, all the things will just pop up in your mind. Absolutely, right? Yeah. So it becomes a lot easier to work on the deviation technique. I'm sure all of you are getting hang of this. I'm sure everybody's getting hang of this simple method. Right, all right, let's take a look at this question. Let's take a look at this question. The average age of a group of 8 men increases. All right, average age increases by 2 years. All right, when one of them, who is age 24 years, is replaced by another man. Find the age of this particular new man. So now look at this. All right, now there are how many here? 8 men. Increases by 2 years. Assume that there is a man 1. All right, there is a first man. All right, there is a first man. Replacement is happening here. All right, there is a replacement. All right, there is a first man, there's a second man. Likewise, there are 8 people, man 8. Right now, so they all had some average called A. Let's assume that they all had an average called A. Assume, all right, it's very unlikely that everybody would be at the same age. Assume it like this. All right, now one of whom, age 24 years, is replaced. Then what has happened? Then they said that, okay, between all of this, they cannot be A actually, A1, A2 like that. All right, now their average was A. So what happened is, all right, now out of this, all right, now they were all sitting with certain number. All right, let's call it as A1, A2, whatever. Right, A1, A2, like this. The last person, one of the person's age is given as 24. Now what we did, this person 24 is got replaced by somebody else. Only the last person we are replacing. replacing, let's say just because we replace that person, it increased by 2 years, which means the person whom you are introducing, assume that that person is X whom you are replacing, this fellow also had an age of 24 years. Well, this fellow also had the 24 years as a component, and he contributed extra 2 years for everybody, including himself. All right, now including himself. Right now, anyway, this person man 8 is not there now. All right, man 8 is not there. Including himself, there would be only 8 people now. So therefore, how much more he is contributing? He got to contribute 24 for himself plus 8 into 2. That's a deviation. 8 into 2, 16. Therefore, 24 plus 16, which would result in 40 years. All right, which would result in 40 years. Simple deviation method. I want to do it in the mind itself. I took time to explain this because I want you to be aware of this particular method. It is pretty simple. So 8 men are there, it increases by 2. All right, now this 24, whatever. All right, 8 into 2, 16. All right, just you will 8 into 2, you will do it. You will get that number as 16. Yeah. All right, you'll simply get this number as 16. You would have added this to this. All right, now it's a mental problem, 10 seconds problem. Reading time is some 20 seconds, solving time is 10 seconds, isn't it? Yeah, that's a truth. That's a fact. That's a fact once you understand it. Fair enough. Let's go here. Let's take a look at this particular question. Let's take a look at it. The average age of a group of 8 men increases by 2 years when two of them, aged 24 and 16 years, are replaced by two women. So find the average age of these two women. It's a cluster. Take it together. Sometimes they'll talk about 2, 3, 4, 5 things. Don't panic. Take it as it is. Absolutely no worries on this. So what he's saying? He's saying that look, there is a man 1, man 2. They have some ages. Then there is a man 7 and man 8. Okay, whatever were their age, A1, A2, etc. Man 7 and 8 is given to me. That is 24 and 16. Good. Now it's a cluster. Group it together. All right, group it together. How much they're bringing onto the table? They're bringing onto the table 40 years. All right, these two folks together are bringing 40 years onto the table. Good. Okay, now what we do? We replace this by two women. All right, author is saying that, hey, we are replacing it by two women. We are knocking them off. And we are replacing it by two women, women 1 and women 2. All right, because we bought two women, the average, all right, now because we brought two women, average increased by 2 years. What has happened there? Women also brought in together 40 years for themselves. They brought together 40 years. All right, it's not that, okay, they contribute any less. This 24 plus 16 is 40. Sure, they brought that 40 component for themselves, and they increased everybody's average by 2. Therefore, what? Plus 2 plus 2. Likewise, all right, including themselves, women 1 and women 2. They added, including themselves, they brought that factor. How much more? Therefore, 16 more. All right, that is 8 into 2. All right, now that is 2, 2, 2. How many? 8 folks. Therefore, 16 more, 8, 40 plus 16. So, which would become 56. Great. 56 is the 56. But what does he want? Find the average age of the two women. It's a total, guys. 40 plus 16 is the total. I don't know the breakup of each woman. What is the age of the first woman? No idea. What is the age of the second woman? No idea. Together, what is the age? I have idea. What is that? 56. Together, it is 56. Therefore, what is the average? 56 divided by 2. Because I have what author is interested in average, not in the sum. Therefore, 56 divided by 2, which is the average, which would turn out to be 28. All right, that's the average age of these women. Right, great. All right, now you would have got this point out here. All right, you would have got this point. So don't panic even if they talk about replacing 1 or 2 people. It doesn't really matter how many people we have to replace. Put as a cluster, it can be 2, 3, 4, 1, whatever they wanted to replace. Put that together and then do that calculation, deviation on that part. Right, get hang of this deviation. It helps really big time when you are doing your DI and LR especially, right? Not only in quant, of course, you can expect some simple questions like this in quant as well, but it definitely going to help. I'm going to some of the CAT questions as I go along. You will understand that how deviation comes into play. Understanding certain concepts would play a role in our preparation. Right, let's take a look at this question, friends. Let's take a look at this question. Do it yourself, quick. Do it yourself. Take a minute. Do it yourself. Done, right? There is no calculation, isn't it? It is just a mental problem. All of you would have got the answer. Answer is 35. Simple, straightforward answer. There is absolutely no calculation required out here. You'd have understood by now. Right? Okay, let's nevertheless take a look here. The average age of a committee, committee of 7 trustees is the same as it was 5 years ago. So how can it be same? Because every year the average age should increase by one. All it knows, so assume that okay, now there is a committee is formed. All right, there is a committee in the year. All it now in the year 2017. Let's just take an example. In the 2017, the average age of the committee, average, I'm writing the average directly. Sum is what? Into 5 if you do, you'll get the sum, because there are average comes 7 into 7 if you do, you'll get the sum. But the average, let us say that the average age of the committee, I'm just giving an example, right? Giving an example. If the average of the committee is 45 years, then in 2018, the committee average should become 46 years. Why? Simply everybody will grow by 1 year on the same date. All right, now whatever the date on which you are taking they're taking their age into consideration for your calculation. So all it come next year 2019, all it now it should become 47 years. All it now that's what should technically happen. But the point here is what has happened here. The average remains same after 5 years. Well, technically whatever was the average, well, if the average was A, after 5 years it should be A plus 5. Good, A plus 5. So A plus 5. So therefore there is a younger folk who was introduced into this particular committee, maybe 20-year-old, 25-year-old. So one of the younger folk has been introduced into the committee. The question is, what is the age of that person? No, that cannot be answered. Age of that fellow cannot be answered. How much younger was he than the trustee whose place he took, which means whom he replaced technically, isn't it? How much younger can be calculated? What is the age cannot be calculated. Simple, friends. All right, now it added plus 5. It added plus 5, but the average should become A. All right, whatever the average, they started with an average of A. After 5 years, the average should have been A plus 5. But now what has happened here is minus 5. A plus 5 minus 5. It is back to A. It is back to A. Therefore, what this fellow has done, all right, now what this fellow has done, this fellow has contributed, he has contributed negative 5 to everybody. Negative 5 to how many people? 7 people, including himself. Therefore, how much younger he was? 35 years younger he was. Simple. All right, after reading this question, 10 seconds you would have answered. Reading itself takes some 20-30 seconds, 20 seconds maybe. Right, after that, all right, now solving is just about 10 seconds because it's a mental problem. Right, beautiful question, simple one, pretty simple one by the deviation method. Okay, so here I introduced you to the simple average. There is nothing much to learn the simple average. That's the meaning of the simple average. One thing I wanted to tell here is be mindful of the deviation technique, which is important. All right, which is important. Great. I will just introduce you to the weighted average now. I'll introduce you to the weighted average. Then we'll come to one of the important exam concepts as well. Let me introduce you to the weighted average. Right now, so what is the weighted average? Let's put it like this, the weights of this. All right, we use weighted average. Take a look at this. Now, don't bother about the sentence that I've written on the top. Just follow me. All if you follow me, you'll be able to understand this. Say there is a class 10. All right, there is a class 10. They've divided the class 10 students into 2 sections based on certain profiling, etc. They divide into 2 sections, section A and B, and they conducted a test. All right, they conducted a similar test in both the classes. All right, the Excel sheet was made. They entered the marks, all of that. In section A, all right, the average marks of the section A is 15. Assume that there are 2 class teachers. Section A has a class teacher. Section B has a class teacher. Both of them report to the principal. They went to the principal with the report. All right, now report. The principal is not really interested in every single mark of the student or mark of the students. Rather, first he wanted to understand by starting with the average. So therefore, all at the section A class teacher is reporting, saying that look, the average marks of my students in the unit test is 15. All at 15. Okay, 15. The second section B teacher represents section B's teacher reported that average marks per student is 20. All right, this is the reporting done. Great. But the point here, therefore, I cannot say that, okay, therefore the principal cannot immediately conclude that the average is going to be 15 plus 20 divided by 2, or which is going to be 17.5. Then you're really jumping. You are jumping into conclusion. Hang on. Couple of things the principal also has to be mindful about. Firstly, are there equal number of students in each class? That's what you need to understand, because it's a class. It is not one person, right? It's a class, because earlier we were just adding one single marks of one single paper kind of, but there is a class. There are a group of students here. Principal has to be little mindful about it. Therefore, the section A, how many students took the test? Teacher will say that 20 of them took the test. Good, because attendance can be little higher. Everybody may not have taken that particular test. So how many took the test? 20 of them took the test. How many students took the test from the section B? 30 took the section B. So how do I calculate the average? Now this is called as the weights. Now these are the weightage. The 20 students and 30 students is the weightage. Now this is the qualitative aspect. This is the quality. All right, this is the qualitative aspect. This is the quantitative aspect. quantity. Weights are nothing but the quantity, quantitative aspect. There is a qualitative aspect and there is a quantitative aspect. We are talking about the quantitative aspect. That's called as the weight. All right, now weight is 20 and 30. Great. So how do you calculate? Therefore, you will say that hey, what is the total marks of the section here? 15 into 20. 15 into 20, 15 marks per student into 20 students. So what is the total weight? Therefore, all right, total weight therefore is going to be 300 marks. That's the total marks. All right. What about the section B? Average is 20 marks per student. How many students have taken the test? 30 of them have taken the test. Therefore, what is the total marks? 600. Great. Yeah, what is the total marks? Therefore, 900. Total marks of how many kids? Therefore, 50 kids. Total mark of how many kids? 50 kids. Therefore, can you tell me the average? Sure. The total marks are 900 marks. But this 900 marks is because of how many kids? Because of 50 kids. Because of 50 kids. Therefore, you say that average is 18. All right, but had you added just 15 and 20 and divided by 2, all right, then you would have got the average is 17.5. May not be the truth. All right, that may not be the truth. Right? Therefore, you say that 18 is the average. This is called the weightage. Okay, what is the weights here? The weights here is nothing but the quantity. Quantity is nothing but the weight. Now, listen to me carefully. Listen to me carefully. 18 we got. Keep that in mind. Let's keep it in mind. That 18, let's keep it in mind. So now look, the quantity can be absolute. Right, it can be absolute measure. You may know exact calculation. Absolute is fine. A quantity can be expressed as the ratio. I'm okay with it. Even if you write it as a ratio, I'm fine with it. It can be absolute or it can be a ratio, or quantity you can give me as a percentage. Anyways, I'm okay. But the quality you have to give always in the absolute terms. All right, this has to be absolute. All right, now this you cannot say that, hey, I will give the ratio of the quantity. No. All right, then I'll not be able to find out the average marks there. Qualitative aspect has to be absolute measure. Quantitative aspect can be the ratio measure. For example, yeah, I will not tell you 20 students and 30 students. Instead, I'll say that, okay, for every 2 students who took the test in the class section A, there are 3 students who took this test in section B. That's fine for me. That's fine for me. Hey, will I get the answer because of this 2 and 3? Absolutely, you will get this answer. Do that calculation. 20 into 3. All right, now do it 20 into 2. All right, 30. Okay, 15 into 30, 20 into 3, 60. Okay, what is the total marks? Therefore, 90. Okay, what is the weights? 2 plus 3, 2 plus 3. What is that weight here? 5. Therefore, what is the average? 90 divided by 5. What is 90 divided by 5? 18. That's what I meant. Hey, whether you give me 20 students, 30 students, absolute weight we give, all right, that's fine for me. Or you give me the ratio, that's also fine for me. Either ways, I'm comfortable. That's the meaning of that, right? Okay, so whenever you give the quantity can be either absolute. All right, quantity can be absolute. It can be the form of a ratio or it can be the form of a percentage. In fact, if the quantity is a big number, this is what we prefer. This is what we prefer to reduce the calculation. For example, think about it. Had I given it something like, okay, had I given it like, okay, 68 students, 68 students study here, 68 students study in this particular section. All right, let's say that's given that, and 68 students study 60, yeah, 51 students study. Let's say I've given like this. No, I don't have to really multiply these big numbers, 15 into 68, etc. Rather, I can understand that they both come in the table of 17. I would rather convert it. I'll say that, okay, 17 into 3, right? 17 into 3 and 17 into 4. It's easier. 15 into 4 out of calculated, 20 into 3 out of calculated becomes a mental calculation, or it becomes technically a mental calculation. So, in fact, the quantity preferred is ratio. See, that you should know. Preferred is ratio. Look for the ratio of quantity. Don't try to tinker with quality. Don't try to do that with quality. Quality has to be an absolute measure, right? That's a point that you will remember from your high school lecture. They'll say that in the weighted average, hey, quantity can be an absolute value. It can be an absolute value, or it can be a ratio, or it can be a percentage. Any of this, right? Any of this. But however, the quality has to be always absolute. Now, that is the point to be noted in weighted average. That's a point to be noted in weighted average. Second thing is what is preferred? Preferred is ratio. If the numbers are large, the preferred way of understanding the quantity is the ratio. Okay, I'll illustrate more on this. I will call it capitalize on this particular point, this ratio point. I'll capitalize big time, or when I'm trying to deal with the allegation. That's the next chapter. When I do that, I will try to deal with this particular one, the ratio measure, in a big time. All right, we'll see that. We'll see that. All right, therefore, I'm parking most of the weighted average examples, all right, for the allegation when we do it, because that's examiner's favorite. When it comes to the average, more often than not, when they project a question, they generally all right ask the question based on allegation. Right. All right. Now let's keep it a point. Let's keep that as a point. Okay. Here is a question for you. You'd have got this point. Quickly give me the answer, friends. Read through this example, only example. Don't read all it, know what is given on the top. Only this example. This is the data, right? Now this entire thing is the data. Do this, and why don't you let me know the answer to this question? Quick. How does the average will be printed on the sheet, score sheet of this particular student? Yeah, done. Good, very good. All right, let's take a look here. Do it with me. Let's take a look. Let me solve it for you. Okay, so he wants the weighted average. Now look at this. Firstly, the student is very smart, isn't it? So I looked at this particular data. I really appreciated the student. Very smart student. Right now, because he knows all right now, he knows the weightage. Now look at this. Weightage for economics is 3. Weightage for economics is 3. He studied this really well and got 90 marks out of 100. Maximum marks for each paper is 100 marks. No worries. All right, but the point is now look at the smartness. Because the weightage is 3 times, which means whatever the marks you get, if the weightage is 3 times of it, he studied well. Second one, the weightage for English is 2, therefore he did well. The weightage for math is less in that paper. Weightage for math is less, therefore he least performed in math. Therefore, whatever the time was available, his priorities were very clear. All right, now same thing follows to all of you, those who are preparing for these aptitude exams. So it's very clear that your preference has to be clear from where you are going to get your marks from. All right, while doing it, everything is important. All right, now there is a lot of things to be done on the table. But the point is, you should know your preference. All right, where you are going to get your marks from is important, right? Yeah, that's important there. Now this fellow knew, all right, this fellow knew the weightage. So this fellow knew the weightage and he knew what to work upon. Anyways, nevertheless, so my point here is with this particular question is he's smart. Basically he's smart. He knew where to get his, where to score, where not to score, which means it's not about not to score, where to invest time. Where to invest time, this person was very clear. Good. All right, if there is a lack of time, otherwise definitely I'm sure that this fellow would have done well in math also. He's smart, intelligent. If somebody is intelligent, they'll be intelligent in everything. We can't say that the intelligent fellow is good only in English but not intelligent in math. I will not borrow that statement. Intelligence is intelligence. It's up to you whether you want to work on that area or not. That's up to you. So because if the fellow is so intelligent, getting 90 out of 90 out of 100 in economics, which means he has the ability, no question. Point is, are you willing to put the effort or not? Same thing goes with me. If someone says that I'm very good in VRC section, like verbal ability and RC section, but not so good in quant, I'll say that no, it's up to you. If you work hard in math, if you're good in VRC, you're blessed with good intelligence, you can do the same thing even on the math, provided you put the requisite effort. At some point in life, you have to put the effort. Simple, that's it. Because otherwise, how you can be good in one section and not good in the other section, right? You would be, because you have that reasonable IQ. It is there. It's showing up. All right, let's take a look here. Anyways, let's take a look here. I made my point, subtly what I have to do. Okay, so let's take a look here. What you would have done here, guys, again the weights. Already you multiply this by the weight. All right, therefore you would say that 270, that's a total. Good. 70 into 2, which would become 140. 40 into 1, which becomes 40. Great, we'll add up all these particular numbers. All right, we'll add up all these particular numbers, which becomes 450. All right, 450. Good. So what is the weights here, friends? Weights here is nothing but these are the weights. All right, it's not 450 divided by 3. All right, don't divide this by 3. 3 subjects. If you divide this by 3, 450 divided by 3, you get 150. Man, when the maximum marks are 100 per paper, how on earth you ended up with 150 as the average? Right? We need to be mindful. The weightages are different very clearly. All right, therefore the weights are how much? 6 is the weight. 2 plus 1 plus 3, 6 is the weight. Okay, therefore what is the average marks I should be writing? The average marks is 450 divided by 6, which is nothing but 75. Pretty good effort, right? Pretty good effort. Although he scored only 40 in math, because the weightage for math is less, overall it looks good. It looks still in control. All right, 75 still looks good out there. Fair enough. All right, by now you'd have got the idea of the weighted average. By now you'd have got the idea of the weighted average. Weighted average. Okay, now here we go with a simple question. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do this. Think about this. I wanted to do this question quickly without wasting time. Yeah, good. I guess you would have got the point by now. Awesome, good. All right. So what does it say? The senior executives are paid 90,000 per month, while the junior executives are paid 60,000. So basically, we are talking about these 16 executives. So therefore, what is the monthly payout for these 16 executives? That's a question, simple one. So I'll let know. So firstly, what I do here, let me just I'll let know organize the data quickly here for you. Let me organize the data. Senior executive, and there is junior executive. All right, now there is a quality aspect and there is a quantity aspect. One, all right, now the salary is the quality aspect. Salary is the quality aspect. Let me write it as 90K, that is 90,000. Let me write as K, all right, 90,000, because answer also comes in terms of K only. Let me write 90K. I'm just avoiding three zeros. All right, we can do that, 90K. And your junior executives, it is 60K. That's a salary part. Fair enough. Now look at the quantity part. That is the number. Quantity, that's a number. Can number be the ratio? Of course, yes. All right, the number of senior executives are 12 in number. The junior executives are 4 in number. I don't have to do 90 into 12. All right, here it is fine. 90 into 12 is also fine. No worries. If the numbers are not great, the first thing I do on the quantity is whenever I get the quantity, I will always put them in the simplified form. Life is simple. I will write it as 1. I will write this as 4. So therefore, I'll say that the ratio is 4 is to 3. I said it's good enough for us. It's good enough for us. The ratio is going to be this. Fair enough. Therefore, what is the sum? Therefore, 9 into 3, that is 270. All right, 60 into 1, which is nothing but 60. Therefore, you would say that, man, this is going to be 330K because it's in thousands, or it's in thousands. 330K divided by what? Divided by 4. 330K divided by 4. Why 4? Because it is 3 plus 1. There are 4. And technically, the ratio of the executives is 4 in number. Therefore, 330K divided by 4 becomes my answer. Right? That becomes my answer. Simplification is pretty simple. No worries on that. All right, now, therefore, you will say that 4 8 times 32. And then you have 10, all right, which becomes 2.5. All right, K. All right, that is the average payout, 82.5K. That's in thousands. That's something but 82,500 technically, right? Okay, fair enough. That's a pretty simple one. By now, you would have got some idea behind this. You would have got some idea behind this. Here we go with another one. Here we go with another one. I already dealt with this particular concept. If you can recall, if you have seen one of my earlier videos, especially it's on the linear equation, I clearly dealt with this particular concept. Answer this in 30 seconds, friends. Maybe 30 seconds to read and take another 20 seconds to answer, because that's all the time it takes, within a minute. If you have understood that concept, what I dealt in linear equations while I'm doing linear equations. Yeah, good. So what is this? What's this question about? There are 10 two-digit numbers. So what is the concept first? Let us talk about the concept. Leave this question, or let's leave this question, park it aside for a while. Let's understand the concept. What was the concept I was talking about? So this is the concept I was talking about, the difference between a two-digit number. The difference, right? We talked about this concept, the difference between a two-digit number and the number formed by reversing its digits. What is that? A is the digit of a number. B is also a digit of a number. All right, now these are digits of a number. Don't confuse. A, B, all right. What is A? A stands for a digit, B stands for a digit. Okay, because two-digit number is made up of two digits. Difference between a two-digit number and the number formed by reversing its digit, I said that, hey, it is always a function of 9. It's going to be 9 times of the difference between the digits. 9 times the difference between the digits. You may be wondering, man, why you are writing mod? All right, now you might recall from my discussion why I'm writing mod, because when you write the numbers, you don't know which number is big in the sense. So you might have as well written the number as 12 minus 21 reverse. Now you can't say that the difference is 9. Difference is a positive word, right? Positive word. Therefore, mod difference is nothing but 9. All right, 9 times of the difference between the digits. Similarly, I told you the difference between a 3-digit number and the number found by reversing its digit. All right, it is always 99 times of the difference between the hundreds and the unit digit. It is independent of tens digit. These are the 2 points I clearly made. I also said that, hey, the sum of a two-digit number and the number found by reversing its is sum, friends. Sum of a two-digit number and the number found by reversing its digits is 11 times of A plus B. Now the mod is not required. It is a sum. Now you may wonder that I write a mod there. No need to write a mod here. Let's be mindful. Mod is not required because it's a sum. All right, now there is not not going to be, the mod won't come in the picture here, right? So 11 times. Now these are the 3 points I clearly made out there while doing the lecture on linear equation. Fine, let's come back to this. Let's come back to this. If I understand this, now again, bring the deviation quotient here. Let's bring quickly the deviation quotient into this problem. It's a nice exam question, beautiful question. Yeah, how many numbers you added? 10 numbers you added. What happened there? In one of the numbers you made a mistake. You interchange the digits of one of the numbers, not all 10 of them, just one of them. Great. Due to this error, all right, now because you interchange one of them, the average becomes 1.8 less. Now focus on the word less here. Focus less. It becomes less than the actual. It became the actual. Fine. Less. The word is less. It became less. What means? Let's say that one of those numbers where you are mistakenly taken. See, the numbers are number 1 and number 2 and number 3 and so on. Say that there is a 10th number as well. So what you did is the 10th number is supposed to be AB, but you have taken it as BA. While adding it is supposed to be AB, but you took it as a BA. Now because of this, the average got reduced. What do you mean by average got reduced? Which implies that AB is technically better than BA. AB is technically better than BA because the average got reduced. Alright, whatever be the magnitude, it reduced by a magnitude of 1.5. We'll come to that point later. But the average technically got reduced. Technically got reduced means what? AB was a better number. Better number. After reversing, it became an inferior number. It became a smaller number. Thereby the average got reduced. Fair enough. Therefore, that much we understood. Now, the point here is, what is the difference between the number and the number found by reversing its digit? The difference between a number and the number found by reversing the digits is 9 times of the difference between the digits. That's what you understood. Hey, why did you remove the mod? Because I already know that AB is better here. Earlier number is better here. Therefore, the mod is not required. Otherwise, you may be wondering, hey, you wrote mod here. Why you are suddenly not writing a mod here? Because I know the nature of the numbers. AB is better than BA. Why a mod is required? Not required. Great. Okay, now look at this. Average got reduced by 1.8. Therefore, what is the net change? Yeah, average per number got reduced by 1.8 per number. Okay, average per number got reduced by 1.8. Fair enough. Average per number got reduced by 1.8. For how many numbers? For 10 numbers. For 10 numbers, it is not for one number, 10 numbers. Therefore, what is the net change? The net change is going to be 18. The net change is going to be 18. Now look at this, 9 times of something. 9 times of something is going to be 18. That's what you are trying to tell me here. 9 times of something is going to be 18. That's a difference. Well, a difference between the number and the number found by reversing it digits is 18. All right, because why? You know this already. Now it's a function of this. 9 how many times here? 2 times. Therefore, you are saying that what is the difference between the digits? 2. What is the difference between the digits? Which is nothing but 2. That is what is the question precisely. All right, what is the difference between the digits of the mistaken number? Difference is 2. Look at this. It's a typically 10 seconds mental question once you comprehend the question. All right, because all this is in your mind. 9 times the difference between the digits. All that is in your mind. It already know, just because the keyword is less here, you will immediately understand is AB is better than BA. 9 times of the difference between the digits. That's all you are going to kind of understand it. So all it now, therefore it is 18. 18 comes to your mind. Let be 1.8 into 10. 18. 9 times of how much? 2. Therefore it's a mental calculation. That's the reason I said that, hey, I'll connect the concepts that I'm doing with respect to various chapters, right? Because I would have spoken about some concepts which will again keep coming. It's a similar kind of concepts which some of them keep appearing at multiple instances in various chapters. Therefore, if you learn one, it is going to definitely unleash. You can unleash that learning in some other chapters as well, right? Now let's be mindful of it. For example, now when you learn better grammar, so your grammar is better, naturally you can do parajumbles better. If the vocab is good, your comprehension in RC gets better. All it likewise, now they all have the cascading effect. Of course, cascading effect, when you learn words, it doesn't mean that okay, my RCs don't get better. It does. All right, now how much direct influence or how much indirect influence, that's a different issue. Very pretty much the similar things happens across the spectrum of your learning. Concepts ultimately gets connected. Great. All right, let's go here. Let's go to the another example here. Another example, I also spoke about this. I spoke about this while I was doing one of the chapters. Figure out and quickly close this question within no time. Close this question. Quickly close this question. Yeah, good. All right. I spoke about this while I was doing the quadratic equation chapter, right? I spoke about this while I was dealing with the quadratic equation chapter because the okay, one way of dealing with this is what you say that okay, there are n trucks, certain number of trucks. How is saying it? It's a pretty vague question, isn't it? Certain number of trucks. How many n? How many n? Okay, what is the capacity of each truck? C. That's a assumed capacity. They thought that this should be the capacity of the truck I'm hiring. How much they should transport? 60 tons. All right, now they said that okay, n trucks because they thought that this is the capacity each truck can transport. Thereby, I'll be able to transport all 60 tons of steel from the factory, all right, to the warehouse or whatever. All right, now so therefore, all right, that's the estimation. What happened? All right, now so then they finally realized that okay, the permit is actually 0.5 tons less than, or it is less than what they assumed. Therefore, this n has become n minus 0.5, or at n minus 0.5. Alright, n minus point, sorry, not n. Capacity has become C minus 0.5. C minus 0.5. That is the capacity. Because already now each truck has got capacity got reduced by 0.5. They wanted how many more trucks? 4 more trucks. Therefore, n becomes n plus 4. N plus 4. How much they should transport? Again 60 only. Again 60 only. That is not going to change. His requirement is transferring 60 tons. All right. So if you look at this already from here, you will say that okay, what you wanted here, how many trucks were there initially? Therefore, n value is required here. Already n value is required. Then substitute for C. From the first equation, you will say that C is equal to 60 divided by n. I can do that. Therefore, you will say n plus 4. The value of C is nothing but 60 divided by n minus 0.5 is equal to 60. Okay, if I simplify this, what I'll end up with? Already, if you simplify, you end up with a you end up with a quadratic equation, and you get the value of n from that quadratic equation. One root positive, one root negative. Naturally, you will take the positive of them and you proceed. I also told you that how to do this particular question. Take this 60 in mind. Well, take this 60 in mind. Two things. One is the capacity. One is the capacity. The other one is the number of trucks. All right. One is the capacity. The other one is the number of trucks. I said that a quantity this into this should be equal to this. But go by the difference, friends. What happened to the capacity? What happened to the capacity? Capacity got reduced by 0.5. 0.5 means what? Half. Write the multiples of. I told you half. The AP. Write an AP. Half plus half 1. 1 plus half 1 and half. That is 3 by 2. All right, then again half to this which becomes 2, again half to this, all right, which becomes 2, and all right, which becomes 5 by 2, that is 2 and half. What did I write? Half, 1, 1 and half, 2, 2 and half. Hey, what should I do on the quantity? All right, you have to write the multiples of 4. I told you 4. Start with 4. First term of the series is 4. After that, what? Keep adding 4. Write the multiple of 4 corresponding values. All right, 4. The next line, 4 2 times 8. Next one, 4 plus 4, another 4, 12. Another 4 which becomes 16. Another 4 which becomes 20, and so on. The 4 which becomes 20, and so on. Right now, this is what you are kind of trying to do out here. All right, now this is what we are trying to do. Right, yeah, but it should become 60. Probably already you can write little higher numbers to do it. All right, now you can write little higher. Let me write smaller ones. Let me write the smaller font. Let me write the smaller font. I hope all of you sufficiently recall the concept. I taught you this in quadratic equations there. I taught you about this. Okay, 60. You understood. One side is the capacity, another side is the number. Another side is the number of trucks that is required, right? Okay. So what is the number of capacity? It has to change with half. It has to change with half. Okay, what about the number? Quantity should change with 4. Number of trucks should change with 4. So you are writing these values half, right? Then 1, 1 and half. You want to write the decimal form? I'll write the decimal form. The first point is half, 0.5, 0.5 tons, right? 0.5. First one is 0.5, 1.0, 1.5, then 2, 2.5. Okay, I'm not insisting you that you should write too much. I'm just writing couple of values. All right, now where my product of two numbers becomes how much? 60. Okay, corresponding values 4. Now again, keep increasing by 4, 4, 8, 12, 16, and so on. All right, now 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, and so on. Right, so now you'll make the cross. I said you that okay, just look across where the value of the product becomes 60 there. So now look at this. All right, now this is 60. All right, keep looking for two consecutive ones. All right, where the cross value becomes 60. Hey, what is 20 into 3? 60. What is 2.5 into 24? That is 60. Hey, what is this n value here? This is the initial value. This is the initial number of trucks which were ordered, which used to be supposed to be carrying 3 tons. 20 trucks has to carry 3 tons. This is tons capacity. This is number of tons. right? Number of tons. That's how 60 trucks have to so that's how the 20 trucks have to carry 3 tons each, thereby transporting all 60 tons of material. But what has happened? The truck capacity got reduced to 2.5. It got reduced to 2.5, half ton less. Therefore, how many more trucks you require now? 4 more. That has made the 24 trucks. This is the final quantity. That's what you are saying here. But author wanted what initially planned. Initially planned is 20, which becomes your answer. Right, which is your answer. Simple one. All right, now this is the way. Or if you don't want to write the quadratic and you want to avoid, this is another thing that you would have done. See, whatever we learned in the past can also be used as a part of certain averages, etc., etc. In all these respects. All right, now you cannot really classify this as a part of this. It depends on what approach you take and how do you want to proceed. Right? Yeah, I guess everybody's learning something here. All right, everybody's learning something. Right? Yeah, everybody's learning something. Good. I'll come to one of the important concept here, friends. I'll come to one of the important concept. Nevertheless, before I start, take 1 minute and think about this question. Very important concept. I'll deal with this for about 10-15 minutes. Very important concept. Quite a few handful of questions are going to be asked in various entrance exam based on this concept. Take a minute. Figure out the answer. Very elementary question. High school question. This will never come in the exam. It's a concept. Yeah, I guess you guys are getting it. Good. All right, take a look. All right, now, so this is a concept, isn't it? Pretty important concept. All right, there is a scaling. All right, now, so how much? The scale is 0.5. That's a point here. All right, that this concept you would have remembered from your high school. Whenever you write consecutive natural numbers, the scale is 0.5. That's a word. The word is what? The scale is 0.5. So if you remember that concept, this is a cakewalk. You'd have answered within no time there. And if you have answered in no time, the answer is 20. You would have said it. All right, now, so within you read this question, if you get the point that scale is 0.5, 10 seconds you will write that. Now why 10 seconds? 10 seconds is too much. If you know the scale value is 0.5, it should take only 2 seconds, so less than 2 seconds, because you just have to do all at 5 times of 0.5, that's 2.5, add 2.5 to 17.5, which becomes 20. All right, so let's understand what is the scaling. Now let's take the multiple measurements. All right, now 17.5, it should be what? The word is what? The important word is consecutive. Then I will add another adjective to that. All right, another adjective to that. I'll come to it later. First, let's start explore the concept of this consecutive natural numbers. Consecutive, the word is consecutive. That's where the scale of 0.5 comes there, isn't it? Yeah, consecutive is 7.5. So naturally, all right, now if the average is 7.5, minimum 2 numbers should be there, because 17.5 is not a natural number. Okay, what do you mean by minimum 2 numbers should be there? There should be minimum 17 and 18. This should be the minimum 2 numbers, 17 and 18. There could be just 2 numbers, 17 and 18. What is the average? 17.5. Good. That can be case 1. Case 2, hey man, there can be 4 numbers also. Absolutely, I agree with you. There can be 4 numbers, 17 here, 18 here. There could be 19 and there could be 16. It could be like this. Or it could be like this. Or this could be like this. Is the average 17.5? Of course, yes. Of course, yes. Now, did I write consecutive natural numbers? Absolutely. I wrote consecutive only, 16, 17, 18, 19, consecutive. Okay. So now, otherwise, it can be even like this. You may say that, okay, I'll write 17, 18, then there is a 19. I will write 20 on this side. This side I will be writing 16 and 15. How many I wrote? I wrote 6 consecutive natural numbers. Is the average 17.5? Yes, of course. Of course, the average is 17.5. AP, this is an AP. All these numbers are in AP. I already spoke about this, how to find the average. I spoke in the beginning of the lecture itself. So therefore, it's pretty simple concept. Therefore, you say that, okay, now therefore, when you're writing consecutive numbers are there, n, he said, n can be 2, n can be 4, n can be 6, whatever you take. This is how your average is going to be. Fair enough. Let's add one number to this, friends. Let's add one number, because I don't know which series that you are taking. 3 cases I wrote here. I took it as a case 1. There is a case 2. There is a case 3. Whichever case you assume. Just I'm illustrating your high school concept. That scale is 0.5. Just I'm illustrating that point, that scale is 0.5. That's it. All right, if just that's not coming into your mind for some reason that you studied in the high school, I'm just illustrating that point, the scale is 0.5. No, nothing beyond that. Nothing beyond that. Okay, let's take the first case. Let's take the first case there. Let's take the first case. Let me introduce the number. In the first case, let's say that I'm introducing introducing one number, following next number, not the previous number. Assume that you consider two numbers. I wrote the next number. Now look at the average, friends. The average has become 18. It was 17.5. It was 17.5. Now it has become 18. The average of the first case has become 18. Why? I added one number. I introduced one number into that series. Okay. What if I introduce one more number into this series? Second series. What if I had 16, 17, 18, 19? I'm introducing a term. I'm introducing 20. Similarly, average is 18 now. The average is right here. All right, because there are five numbers there, the average has become 18 even for the second case. Look for the third case here. What if I introduce one number onto this? Because that's what he said. Already introduce the numbers there. If I introduce one more number, the average is 18 for the third case also, which means which case you assume does not matter. My average turned out to be 18. So what was earlier, friends? It was 17.5. You introduced one number. Therefore, what has become your average? It has become 18. 17.5 went on to become 18.0. That's the scale I was talking about. All right, now that is the scale I was talking about. Hey, the scale is 0.5. That's the point I was talking about. If I introduce another number, consecutive natural number, it becomes 0.5. Becomes 0.5. Very good. All right, let's keep that in mind. Let's keep that in mind. Hey, what if I introduce one more number? Hey, what if I introduce one more number to this, which means, okay, I introduce 20. I introduce one number to this. What if I introduce 20 into this? Fine. Now look at the average here. Now average has become 18.5. The average has become 18.5. 18 went on to become 18.5. Why? Because you introduced the second number. Introduce the second number here. The average has become this 18.5. This is where the average is lying now. Hey, what if I introduce a number 22 here? It is 18.5. So therefore, what is that you are trying to say? Hey, it does not matter how many consecutive terms you took. If you introduce a number, if you write the next number, the scale is 0.5. The scale would shift by 0.5. Important concept. All right, very important concept. It should be known. Right? It's a very important concept. Shift by 0.5. Okay, how many numbers you added? 5 natural numbers. What is the scale for every number? 0.5. If you have therefore 5 into 0.5, which is 2.5. 2.5 should be added to 17.5. My answer becomes 20. Simple concept. Well, that's a concept. So this can be worked reverse as well. This can be worked reverse as well. Hey, what if I remove? What if I remove a number? All right, now listen to this very carefully, my friends. Listen to this very carefully here. Say my numbers are 7, 8, 9, and 10. So these were the four numbers that I have. Hey, what is the average therefore? Average is 8.5. What is the average? I'm writing average is 8.5. Hey, what if I remove a number on this particular? So let me do two cases. Let me do two cases here, right? Because this is another thing. That 0.5 scale, you should know how it functions. Okay. Now let's say 7, 8, 9. I removed this 10. All right, this 10 I removed. Now look at the average, guys. The average has become how much? 8. 8. Now look at the scale. The scale is 0.5. 0.5 downward. The scale is 0.5. Of course, the scale is 0.5. Right? Scale decreased by 0.5. Great. Now look at the other way around that I do on this. I'll look at the other way around that we do on this. What I do is between 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, 9 and 10. I knock off this 7. I knock off this 7. Look at the average here, guys. The average has become 9. All right, the average has now become 9. But what does it mean? The average also. All right, now look at the swing. The swing is what? 0.5. Swing is 0.5. It either increases by 0.5 or it decreases by 0.5. If you have a set of natural numbers, when you knock down a number, extremes, if you knock down two extremes, the scale is always 0.5. The scale is 0.5. Please remember this fact. The scale is going to be 0.5. Hey, what if I knock down anything between this, which means I had a number 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, now this was the set of observation I started with. All right, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't knock off 7 or this. I knock off any other number other than this. If you knock off any other number other than this, if the average was 8.5, your revised average will lie between 8 and 9. 0.5 this side, 0.5 that side. All right, your revised average, no matter what you knock down, your revised average will lie between 8 and 9. The scale is 0.5, 0.5 up, 0.5 down. So I said that, okay, I understand this very carefully. So 7, 8, 9, 10 I gave. I know that the existing average is 8.5. I told you, hey, erase one of the numbers. I wrote this on the board. I said that, hey, please come and erase one of the numbers. I know when you erase, all right, now I am at 8.5. When you erase, it can't go below 8. It can't go above 9. It can't go above 9. I know that you erase whatever you want to erase. My average will lie between 8 and 9, including 8 and 9. Assuming that you erase the extremes. Assume that, okay, you erased 9. You erased 9. Fair enough. You erase 9. The sum has become 25. Therefore, 25 divided by 3. All right, sum has become 25. Now there are three observations, 7, 8, and 10. Therefore, already you say that 25 divided by 3. Already, therefore, it has become 8.33. Average has become 8.33. Hey, does it lie between these two numbers? Yes. All right, now that's the thing I know. What I know is, hey, my existing average is 8.5. I am saying that come to the board and remove one of the numbers of your choice. I know when you remove, my average will lie between 8 and 9. This is an important point. All right, that's a scaling of 0.5. When you remove the numbers, the scales are 0.5 to the left and 0.5 to the right, 0.5 to the left and 0.5 to the right. If you know this, most of the job is done with respect to this concept. Okay, I clearly illustrated this concept now. I think it should be crystal clear to all of you. It should be crystal clear to each one of you. Okay, give me a quick answer to this question now. Having understood what I said, give me a quick answer to this question. Yeah, would have done by now. Absolutely. Okay, so now 17.5, he's saying that okay, n consecutive, he's assuming point is what is the largest value of m, what is the maximum number of observations you can have. All right, now they should be consecutive. The word is again the consecutive natural numbers. Good. 17.5 can be done with only two numbers, only 17 and 18 is enough. The average is 17.5. Or you may say that no, I will have 16, 17, 18, 19. That's also fine. Oh no, I can have 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. All right, that's also average is this. Therefore, what you will say, hey man, till where I can go like this, you can keep going like this till 1. All right, now 1. All right, now you'll go like this. So the point here is okay, here which till where I should be going. That's a point here. All right, now till where I should be going, I start with 1. But what is my last number? So that will become total observations. Look at the first one. What is the first one you are trying to say? Two numbers is fine. The n value is 2. N is equal to 2. Why? You took only two observations. What about this? N is equal to 4 because 4 observations. What about this? N is equal to 6. Here my point is what is n? Therefore here what is my n going to be? All right, that's a question that we are talking about. What is the last number? Simple, guys. All right, simple. First number first, the last number divided by 2 is the average. Simple. All right, now what is the average? 17.5. They're in AP because they are consecutive natural numbers. First number, this is where I taught you in the beginning. First number and the last number, let's say last number is x. First number and the last number divided by 2 is the average. Perfect. All right, now therefore you would say 1 plus x, 1 plus x divided by 2 should be equal to how much? 17.5. All right, 17.5. This is where the concept of AP is coming there. Therefore, what is the 1 plus x? 1 plus x is equal to 35. Therefore, what is x? X is equal to 34. Therefore, you are saying that 1 up to 34, you can write 1, 2, 3, 4, right up to 34. Take their average, it becomes 35. Therefore, the best is 34. What is the largest value n can assume? 34. Now don't write 0 and etc, etc. Don't write, hey, I will write 0 here, 30 here. 0 is not natural, friends. 0 is not natural, right? So therefore you would say that 34 numbers are possible. Simple question, having understood the concept there. All right, now just because I wanted you to illustrate on this point clearly. All right, first and the last divided by 2 gives me the average. I want you to be just mindful about it. You know that once fixing is easy. Fixing one is easy. You just have to quickly learn how to fix the last number mentally, because you just have to divide by 2. You don't have to divide by all the numbers. Just first and the last divided by 2 gives you that particular average. From there you can understand that what should be the last number. That gives me the maximum number of observations. Maximum number of observation. Yes, quickly answer this now. Answer this now. Quickly, I have to go to the cat question. None of these are cat questions, these three. I'm just doing the concept. Pretty high school concept. That scale of 0.5 is what I'm taking time to explain. If that scale of 0.5 is forgotten, I want you to remind you about that. All right, that's all I'm trying to do out here. Quickly, this question. Yeah, good. All right. So what has happened there? 40 consecutive natural numbers are written. 40 consecutive natural numbers are written. When one of the numbers is erased, the average of the remaining 39 numbers has become the simple 40 natural numbers you went on to write. I know the average because the first number is 1. Right, first number is 1, the second number is 2. Like this, you went on to write up to 40. First and the last divided by 2, that's enough for me. All right, first and the last. All right, now you had 1, 2, 3, dot, 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 then 39 and 40. Yeah, how do I get the average? First and the last by 2, that's enough for me. Right, therefore 1 plus 40 divided by 2. Alright, 1 plus 40 divided by 2, that's nothing but 41 divided by 2. Right, 41 divided by 2, 20.5. So you are saying that my existing average is 20.5. Now look at this, guys. So you are at 20.5. What do you know? Alright, now when you know that, okay, you are at 20.5. For now, the average is 20.5. Whatever you want to erase. Now 40 numbers are presented in front of you on a board. You come erase whatever you want to erase. Something I know, whenever you erase, I know that my average cannot go below 20. My average cannot go below 20. Right, my average, hang on, guys. Okay, so I made a mistake. I took the first 40 natural numbers. It is not first 40 natural numbers. It is 40 natural numbers, 40 consecutive natural numbers. Sorry, that's my mistake. I took the first 40 there. All right, I took the first 40 there. It is just 40 natural numbers. All right, one of the numbers is erased, and the average of the remaining 39 numbers has become 45. Right, average of the remaining 39 numbers has become 45. That's a question here. Right, 39 numbers has become 45, which means before erasing. Now look at this. All right, now here, this is the starting point. This is a starting point. Okay, I made a mistake. I took it as a first 40 consecutive natural numbers. While reading, I quickly made a mistake. That's it. Yeah, 39 numbers is 45. All right, let's start with this. Average of the remaining. Which one is erased? No idea. No idea what is erased. 39 numbers is 45. Okay, one of the numbers is erased. We don't know which is that. Remaining 39 numbers has become 45. Meaning is this. All right, there is a first number. There is a second number. Like this, all right, you have 40 numbers earlier. There is a 40 number earlier. One of the numbers has been erased. Therefore, the remaining 39 numbers, therefore one of them is crossed, one of them is erased. All right, now in between, one of them is erased. Therefore, the remaining numbers has become 45. Now listen to me. All right, now if it is a whole number, what you erased is an extreme numbers. Only if you erase the extreme points. That's a point I want to make with this question. Either you should erase n1 to get 45, or you should get n40 to erase the 45. Otherwise, you will not get a number which is 45 or 45.5 or 44.5, etc. If you are getting the averages of consecutive natural numbers as a whole number or a 0.5, the scale is clearly 0.5. Then, all right, then remember, if the scale is clearly up, the number comes in the form of a 0.5 scale, then the number erased has to be an extreme number only. Extreme number only. For example, let me take a simple example for you just to illustrate this point. I'm not taking this, I'm taking a much simpler example. Say the number is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, this is the number. Okay, what is the average, guys? I'm writing the average, friends. Average is 6. Average is 6. Very good. So now average is 6 for these particular. I added 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The average is 6. If I erase this 4, listen, if I erase this 4 and if I write my number as 5, 6, 7, 8, I erase that 4. If I erase that 4 and consider these numbers, my average has become 6.5. All right, that's when you get that 6.5. Okay, if I erase from here, all right, if I erase the last number, so which means I consider 4, 5, 6, 7. Now this time I'm erasing this 8. I'm considering the other digits 4, 5, 6, 7. So when I consider this, my average becomes 5.5, 5.5. Likewise, so if I are getting a 6.0, 5.5, 6.5, etc., then the numbers erased are at the extremes. Now consider a case. Let's consider a case. Hey, I don't erase the extremes. I have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 6, 7, 8. I will erase 5. I will erase 5. Let's say that, okay, you made a decision to erase this particular number 5. So, okay, the sum has become how much now? Sum has become 25. 25 divided by 4. Now, look, it doesn't end in 0.5. All right, now, therefore, you are trying to say that now the average has become, okay, now the average has become, all right, 6.25. You will not have the 0.5 scale here. It will be a skip of 0.5 because now you got 6.25. Does this come under a scale of 0.5? It does not. Okay, yeah, that's a point here. My point here is now because it's a 45, the average of remaining numbers has become 45. What has been removed is at the extremes. That's my third point. All right, that's a point I wanted to make. It is removed at the extreme. Now listen to me. Average is 45, friends. The average is going to be 45 here. All right, the average is going to be 45. Find the number that is therefore being erased. What number is erased so that the average has become 45 there. Now look at this. If it is a 45, there can be just one number called 45. Possible. There can be just only one number called 45. Average of 39 numbers, he said that, okay, 40 consecutive natural numbers was written. Therefore, before erasing, first let's understand before erasing. After erasing, if it is 45, then before erasing, it could have been either 44.5, or it could have been either 44.5, or it could have been 45.5. It could have been 45.5. Before erasing, it could have been either 44.5 or it could have been 45.5. Perfect. All right, now, so how many consecutive natural numbers are written here? 40. Write the average, where the average becomes 40. They all at 40 consecutive numbers become 44.5. Let's write two of them. So two of the numbers can be 44 and 45. There can be just two numbers called 44 and 45, whose average can become 44.5. Therefore, this side, how many numbers I should write? Write 20 numbers on this side. So write how many numbers on this side? Write 20 numbers, because you are supposed to be writing 40 consecutive numbers. All right, therefore 44 minus 20, all right, which becomes 24. But then 20th numbers, difference is 20. Difference has to be 19 there. 44 minus 19. 25 is the first number. 25, 26. That's how you can write. On the other side, when you are ending this, which means that can be the series. All right, 45. So therefore the 64, the series can be this. Series can be this. You wrote all the numbers from 25 to 64. When you write all the numbers to 25 to 64, and if you erase 25 out of this, and if you erase 25 out of this, your average will become 45. That is one case. All right, that is one case. Now look at the second case. Again, I have to write 40 numbers. First, let us write for middle two numbers. So if it is 45.5, the middle two numbers are 45 and 46. The middle two numbers have to be 45 and 46. These are the two middle numbers. All right, two middle numbers are 45 and 46. Okay, how many numbers I should write? 40 numbers. Therefore, write 20 numbers on this side from here. All right, now write 20 numbers, which means introduce another 19 numbers here. Another 19 numbers here. Therefore, it can be 26. 26 onwards. So here also I introduce 20 numbers. From this side, introduce 20 numbers. Introduce 19 more numbers. 46 is already there. All right, yeah. Therefore, that would become 65. All right, that would become 65. This is 40 numbers now. So out of this, all right, now I am at 45.5. I got to travel backward. If you want to travel backward, erase the largest of the numbers. Erase 65 right up to 64. Your average becomes 45. I hope you got the point here. Already, if you did not get it, please please watch this portion once again. I recommend to watch this portion once again, just to understand. Only by removing the extremes, already you will get the scale of 0.5 jump. Otherwise, it will not be a 0.5 jump. The jump will be something else. Jump will be something else. Now let me come to one of the exam questions. If you understood my discussion so far, what I did in the last 10-15 minutes on this particular concept, you'll be able to close it within the time. You'll be able to close this within the time. Take a look at this question. Take a look at this question. Quickly answer this question. Answer this question using the concept that you did, that you learned so far. This can be one of the exam questions out of whatever we did so far. Yeah, good. All right, let's take a look. Let's take a look at this. A set contains the first n consecutive natural numbers except one of them, right? It contains set of consecutive natural numbers except one of them. If the average of the set is this, find the number which is absent, right? Find the number which is absent. Firstly, understand this. All right, now where is this lying? All right, now where is this lying? This is slightly greater than 10.5. If it is slightly greater than 10.5, which means that before you erased this particular number, before you erased one of the numbers, your average, because it's slightly greater than 10.5, your average could have been 10.5. 10.5, because you erased one of the numbers, it's slightly improved because you erased a number less than 10.5, therefore it's slightly improved. Or your average earlier could be 11. Your average could be 11. Now instead of first n, the word is first, another adjective. It's not only consecutive, it is the first n consecutive. It is the first n, which means I know the starting number is 1. If the average is 10.5, now listen to me guys, what is the average is 10.5? I can write the last number 1, 2, 3. I can write this series. Hey, what is the last number? First and the last divided by 2 is equal to 10.5. 10.5. Well, therefore its last number is going to be 20. 1 to 20 are the numbers that you have written. You wrote 1 to 20. You might have erased one of these numbers. Because you erased one of these numbers, your average has become 10, 13 by 19. That could be case 1. This could be one of the cases that might have occurred. Sure. Let's go to the second case. Let's go to the case 2. Let's go to the case 2. What is the average here? 11. So average is 11. First the word is first n consecutive natural numbers. Therefore, the first number is 1. You went on to write 1, 2, 3, etc. 1, 2, 3, etc. Average has to be 11. First number and the last number divided by 2 is 11. Last number is x. Let's say 1 plus x divided by 2 is equal to 11. From here, you get the value of x. The last number value, you get it. All right, which is nothing but 21. All right, which is nothing but 21. That's the last number. Great. Now look at this. Here also you might have reduced one of the values. You erased one of the values. Therefore, the average has become 10 point. Now 10, 13 by 19. Average has become something like this. This could be the two cases because average has to go by 0.5. Therefore, either it would be 10.5 and it improved from 10.5, or it could have been 11 and it has decreased from 10.5. These are the two cases. But the point here is you added the other values. Now look at this. Hey, what is the sum here? Sum of the remaining numbers. Let us call it as x. Let x be the sum of all the remaining numbers. All the remaining, how many numbers? 19 numbers. Therefore, what will be the average, friends? Average is nothing but x divided by 19. X divided by 19. Can it be equal to 10, 13 by 19? Possible. Well, x divided by 19 can be written as 10, 13 by 19. Pretty much possible. Now look at the second case here. You removed one number. There were 21 numbers. You removed one number. So what will be the average of the remaining numbers then? Sum of the remaining numbers, that is y. Let us say you added every other number. It became y. That is the sum. So how divided by how many? 20, because there were 21 numbers before. Divide by 20. Now answer. Can this become 10, 13 by 19? No, this cannot become 10, 13 by 19. Why? Because if you are dividing by 20, how suddenly it has become 19 here? The divisor has become 19 here. 19 is not a factor of 20 as well. Therefore, case 2 is ruled out. Therefore, you are saying that case 2 is ruled out. My answer is coming from case 1. Simple proposition, friends. Therefore, how many numbers were there before? 20 numbers were there. What was it now? 20 numbers were there. Now what has happened? Now there are only 19 numbers. Therefore, how do you get the value, the missing value? Let us call m is the missing value. Sum of all the 20 numbers, 20 into 21 divided by 2. That is the sum of the first 20 numbers. 20 into 21 divided by 2. Good. Minus sum of the remaining 19 numbers. Sum of the remaining 19 numbers is 10, 13 by 19 into 19. All right, now this gives me the missing number m. What is the missing number? Missing number is sum of all the numbers minus this particular number. Yeah, how to do the calculation of 10, 13 by 19? Because 10, 13 by 19 into 19. Now listen, 10, 13 by 19 is nothing but 10 plus 13 by 19. 10 plus 13 by 19 can be written as 10, 13 by 19 into 19. Therefore, when you do this calculation, 10 into 19 is 190 plus 13. All right, plus 13, which becomes 203. Therefore, this value is 203. What is the other value? That is nothing but 210. What is the answer? Therefore, 7. What this person does, what this person did is, he erased a value called 7. 7 got erased in the series. All right, 7 got erased in the series. Simple question. All right, now it does not take actually much time. All right, if you think that it takes much time, absolutely not, because these numbers like 10.5 and 11 will pop up in no time, because you observe this and you will say that, hey, this is slightly greater than 10.5, which means the earlier scale should have been either 10.5 or the scale should have been 11. Right, the last digits here, last numbers here. Last number in the first case is 20, last number in the second case is 21. That happens in your mind quickly. But you have the divisor which is called 19 here. This is a divisor which is called 19 here. If the 19 is the divisor, by 20 I cannot get it here. If I erase one number, I'll be left with 20 observations. From 20 I cannot get to this answer. Case 2 gets eliminated. You'll hook on to the case 1 and you will simply do that simple calculation to close this issue. Pretty simple concept, friends. Pretty simple concept. You just have to get hang of this. Well, you just get to get a hang of this. Okay, this is the cat question. This is the cat question. It's a beautiful cat question. Classic one. Very similar to the previous question. Very similar to the previous question. Very similar to the previous question. Take a note of this and solve it for yourself. Take a note of this, solve it for yourself. I will not solve it, it will be too repetitive and redundant. It would be too repetitive. I spent sufficient time on this concept. Quickly note it down somewhere. Note this down and do it for yourself. Answer is 7 for this question. Do it for yourself. Very similar. Yeah, done, noted down. Great. All right, you can do that. If you understood my previous question or you understood the previous 30 minutes of discussion, this is a cakewalk. This is a cakewalk. Doesn't take much time. All right, let's get on to the another concept. We're into the last 20-25 minutes of the lecture, right? Yeah. So let's push the partnership. Pretty simple concept, interesting concept. If a question comes on this, is a cakewalk to solve. They cannot really complicate too much with respect to partnership because we talk about pretty simple partnership issues out here, right? Not a very complicated business case partnership, pretty simple partnerships we talk about here, right? Okay, so what are the three terms? Technically, all right, just three terms. We involve three terms here. One, the investment. Say, assume that the ABC are the partners. So there are ABC are the partners. What we talk about? We talk about the investments. Say investment of A is X, investment of B is Y, investment of C is Z. All right, now X, Y, Z are the investments of these partners because they need not invest equal money. Sometimes equal money, sometimes variable money, right? Now, so therefore XYZ, are they equal, are they different? No idea, whatever it could be. Then second one is what? Time period. Well, because how long you invest. Sometimes the people invest from the beginning till the end. Sometimes, all right, now the funding happens in between, right? Because some partners might join in between, all right, because the company wanted some funds, therefore all right, now they dilute. So therefore all right, now they got some funding through other person, and that the person became a partner. So therefore the time period, because we can't say that everybody stayed through the business cycle. Business cycle can be annually, they may be evaluating, quarterly they may be evaluating, whichever way. All right, now so technically here nothing is mentioned annual. Basically we take it as per annum. So we look at the profits per annum. All of the profits can be looked at monthly wise, weekly, quarterly, whatever is that, but annual, nothing is mentioned. We take it as annual, per annum. So therefore the time period of A, let us call it as P. Time period of B, let's call it as Q. Time period of C, let us call it as R. All right, now why time period? Because everybody need not stay through the course of the business. Some people may now some people may withdraw the business, or as a withdraw their partnership in the business, or some people may come in between. All right, therefore the time period. Now look at this profit. Therefore, how the profit should be shared. How the profit should be shared. Profit is a function of both investment and time period. It's a function of both. It's a fundamental principle. Function of both investment as well as a time period. All right, profit is a function of both of them. Hey, what do you mean? Profit should be shared in this ratio. Profit should be read X into P. X into P is 2. So you will do this Y into Q. All right, Y into Q. X into P is 2. Y into Q. All right, is to Z into R. All right, Z into R. It should be shared in that ratio. That's it. All right, it cannot say that, okay, it's only a function of investment. All right, it does not matter whether you invested for 1 day or 1 year. No, we can't say that. We also can't say that it's only a function of time. All right, it's only a function of time. It does not matter how much you invested, whether you invested 1 rupee or 1 lakh. No, it is a function of both of them. So how much money you invested and how long did you stay in the business, right? Profit has to be shared in the ratio of the product of investment and time period, right? Simple one. Of course, again, this is an high school issue, right? The high school issue, I'm just trying to illustrate, I'm trying to reiterate that point, remind you that point. All right, simple one. All right, let's go to the question, one of the simplest questions built on this. Let's build. All right, now high school. Let's take pretty high school issue out here, simplest question. Then we will go to, all right, now let's build from there quickly. Let's build from there. Let's build from there to the cat level from there. Okay, Yogesh starts a business. There's a person started a business with 1,50,000. And 7 months later, now look at this, there is another person, partner joining after 7 months, 7 months later, because there was a need in the business. Therefore, all right, their entry was made. After 7 months later, there's another fellow who joined him with an investment of 3 lakhs. There was a need of the business. So because of that, at the end of the year, they made 1,21,000 profit, right, at the end of the year. So what is the share of the person who joined at a later stage? Avinash, who joined at a later stage, what is the share of this person? Simple. Therefore, you say that, okay, there are two folks, Yogesh and Avinash. So investment perspective, 1,50,000, 1,50,000, 1,50,000 and 3 lakhs. Okay, let me write it like this: 1.5 lakhs and 3 lakhs, 3.0 lakhs. That's an investment. All right. Yeah, what is the time period for which they stayed in the business? The time period for which they stayed in the business. The first person, Yogesh, started the business and he was there through the year, because nothing is mentioned saying that this fellow withdrew. So don't get such doubts. If nothing is mentioned, the person is there, well and fine, good. All right. If nothing is mentioned, then everything is fine. So stayed for about 12 months. Okay. What about the next one? Next person joined 7 months later, which means he stayed in the business only for the 5 months. Let's be mindful, only 5 months. Time period I'm writing in terms of months. All right, only for the 5 months. That's how that person stayed in the business. Good. Now, technically, I'm writing a ratio. The simplification can be done at any stage in the ratio. Hey, can I simplify here itself? Yes. You can write it as the investments are in the ratio 1 is to 2. Why? Because here anyway you raise the ratio and you are anyway going to simplify this. Therefore, it does not matter which stage you simplify. So therefore, can I write 1.5 into 12? That's fine. Hey, can I take it as 1 and 2? The investments are in the ratio 1 and 2. Absolutely fine. You can do that. Okay, therefore 1 into 12 becomes 12. 2 into 5 becomes 10. Therefore, you are saying that, okay, the profit should be, this is a profit should be shared in the ratio 6 is to 5. So I said that whenever we write the ratio, I told in the ratio lecture, there's a previous lecture, hey, take total into consideration. What is the total, friends? 6, 5. Therefore, what is the total? 11. Had you been distributing 11 rupees, 6 should go to Yogesh and 5 should go to Avinash. That's what should happen. But the point is, hey, you are not distributing 11 rupees, scaling factor. You are not distributing 11 rupees. You are distributing 1,21,000 rupees. So what you are distributing. Good. All right now, therefore, all right now. So what is the scaling factor? Therefore, the scaling factor is 11,000 rupees. 11,000 is the scaling factor. Good. So what is the share of Avinash? Therefore, share of Avinash is 5 into 11,000 rupees. Scaling factor. Scaling factor remains same. We talked about this even in the even while doing the SICI. I spoke about this. 11 into 5. Therefore, you say that, man, this fellow should get 55,000 out of a profit of 1,21,000 rupees right now. So I'm bringing a little bit of elements of ratio. I discussed about this in ratio. The scaling I discussed big time while I was doing the SICI, right? While I was doing the lecture on SICI, I spoke about the scaling, prototype factor, proportionality factor big time while I was doing this. Of course, that comes from the ratio proportion itself, from that chapter itself. So if you're attending this series in the sequence, you will be able to understand it much faster and better, right, without any confusion in the brain. Right, good. Let's go to the next one here. Let's go to the next one. Another example. The same kind of investment itself. Just read this. Take 30 seconds. Please read this quickly. Please read this. Take 30 seconds. Read this. Right, yeah. So in the sense, what I'm trying to do here, what I'm trying to illustrate through this example is, so similar kind of concept, whatever we used all it in the investment, the profit as per investment time period ratio, same concept can be applied. All right, now concept remains same. All right, now the share here can also be applied in the very similar fashion. So what is that? All right, now these people, 3 people visited a particular place. There is a canteen. They all right now they kind of took a subscription for the canteen, and this is how they took the tokens, and this is how they spent those particular tokens. Somebody used more tokens, assume that the food coupons were given. Somebody used more coupons, somebody used less coupons, and the bill came out at the end of the month. Hey, this is the bill, fellows. All right, this is a bill. So therefore, all right, now what is the share of Z out of this? All right, definitely it is not 20800 divided by 3, because Z may not agree, because he has hardly consumed any tokens, food coupons there. All right, therefore he will not be paying by 3 of that. So similar concept here. Therefore, you say XYZ. Like there are 3 folks, X, Y, and Z. 3 folks. Now what has happened there? All right, now how many meal? All right, how many days? The concept here is days. So how many meals per day? Number of meal per day. Right now, very similar to what I did. Therefore, how I need to, all right, now the expenses ratio, basically expenses ratio. Therefore, here instead of getting the profit ratio, you are writing the expenses ratio, because there is an expenditure going on. But the concept remains same. Expenses ratio has to be fundamentally a function of these 2 parts, expenses ratio. Good. Let's go to that X. Now, what did X do? X stayed there for 31 days, which means this month is made up of 31 days. All this drama is happening the same month. Y ordered 2 meal per day, or the 2 meal per day for whole of the month except 1 week. Except 1 week means -7. 31 -7. Therefore, Y stayed there for 25 days. Let 20 all y stayed there for y stayed there for 12, y stayed there for 24 days. You're saying that, okay, this fellow stayed there for 24 days. Perfect. Now look at the Z there. Z stayed in the town for how many days? 15 days. Perfect. Well, this folks do it for 15 days. Now how did the consume? X consumed 3 meal per day. X consumed 3 meal per day. What about Y? Well, Y consumed 2 meal per day for whatever the days he stayed. Z, what about Z? Z consumed only 1 meal per day. All right, therefore, how many tokens each one of them is used? The first folk has used 31 into 3 is 2. What about the second one? 24 into 2. All it is 2. 15 into 1. Right now, that's how they went on to consume this. That's how they went on to consume. Simplify this. Let's simplify this ratio here. All right, now, so I can cut it off by 3. I can cut it off by 3. Therefore, you are trying to say that, okay, this ratio is 31 is to 16 is to 5. Right? 31 is to 16 is to 5. Again, whenever we get the ratio, I'll say that the tacit understanding, there is always a total. There is always a total. Now, this is how the ratio of the expenses should be. 31 plus 16, which is 47, plus 5. 47 plus 5, which is going to be 52. That's a total. But the point is, there is a scaling factor. Man, it is not 52. Your total expenses are 20,800. Your total expenses are 20,800. You are saying it is 20,000 or 20,800. What is the scaling factor? Therefore, into 400. Therefore, what are the expenses of Z? 5 into 400. Therefore, he would share only 2,000 rupees out of this. He will share only 2,000 rupees out of this. Share of Z is rupees 2,000. It's only 2,000 because 400 into 5. Okay, pretty simple question. Let's go a little deeper now. I guess these two questions would have helped you to recall sufficient concepts on the partnership. It should be good. Let's go now. Let's go into this. There are sometimes the passive partners. There are sometimes the active partners. Active partners are involved in the day-to-day affairs of the business. The passive partners might have just they might be just invested, but they may not be involved in the day-to-day affairs of the business. So that's the next thing that comes into play. That's what we mean by working partner, silent partner, or it could be active partner and the passive partner, whichever way we talk about, whichever way what you name it. Okay, let's take a quick look at this question. What happens with the active partner is, active partner, because he manages the business, he's also involved in the day-to-day affairs of the business, he gets some salary. The passive one or the silent partner may not get a salary. Right? That's a point here. Read this question, you will understand this. Then we'll solve it together. Yeah, good. Okay, so now therefore the capitals I will write in the ratio form, in a simplified form itself. Let me not copy these numbers. First fellow 1.5 lakhs, 2.5 lakhs, 3 lakhs, right? Now 3 lakhs. Let me write ABC. So how they have invested in that particular business. Let me write for ABC the investments. All right, I will write it directly in the ratio form itself, guys. This is 15 lakhs. 15 is nothing but 3. 5 3 times. 5 5 times. 5 7 times. Let me write the ratio itself, because anyway towards the end I'm going to do the cancellation. Let me do it right in the beginning. While recording itself, let us say ratio of investments is 357. Right now what I should not change is this number. Rest everything I can change. Right now this number should be absolute, because my answer depends on 36,900. What about others really doesn't matter. So I can write in the ratio from the beginning itself. Right now therefore the investments are in this ratio, that is 3 is to, right, investment is in the ratio 3 is to 5 is to 7. That's the investment ratio. All right, that's an investment ratio. Good. All right, the second part there. So what has happened out of this? Because A manages the business, he gets 1/10 of the profit. 1/10 of the profit. Good. So that's 10% of the profit. 10% of the profit. Remaining 90%. That's what he says. Remaining profit. That's how much? 90% of the profit is divided between the partners in the ratio of investments. So A being managing the business, he gets salary first. Then out of the remaining 90%, all right, now that the remaining 90% is what gets distributed in the ratio of their investment, which means the time period is 1. Therefore, you can say that, hey, what about the time period? They all stayed in the business, because no, he's not said that, okay, they left 1 is to 1 is to 1. And therefore, all right, now what is the ratio in which they should distribute the 90% of the profit? They should distribute in the ratio 3 is to 5 is to 7. That's the point there. That 1 1 1 is not required, but just to understand that, to help you to understand that, because now nowhere it is mentioned that somebody left the business in between. That point is not there. Okay, fair enough. Therefore, the profit should be shared in this ratio. But what profit? 90% of the profit, not 100%. 90% of the profit should be shared in this particular ratio, because 10% goes as a salary. Let's come to point A, friends. Let's come to A, person A. So what's happening to A? All right, he gets 10% of the profit as a salary. 10% of the profit as a salary plus, all right, now plus what more he gets? All right, he gets 3 out of, now total is always there. Remember, 7 plus 5 plus 3, all right, 15. All right, that 15 is always there. All right, now that 15 is always there out there. Right now that 15 is there. Well, hang on, I made a mistake. This is not 37, it is 6. Right, that's 6. Thank you. That's 6. That is 3, 5, and that is 5 6 times. Right now, I made that mistake in calculation. Change it 6. This is 6. Okay, so therefore the total is 14. Total is 14. Out of a total of 14, A should get how much? 3. Now come to A, friends. A should get 3 out of 14 of the remaining 90% profit. Firstly, let me start by saying 90% profit. Out of the remaining 90% profit, A would get 3 by 14th of it. A would get 3 by 14th of it. Why 3 by 14? Because if you distribute 14 rupees, A gets 3 by 14th of it. What about B? B gets 5 by 14th of it. Think about B, guys. Think about B. What does B get? B gets 90% out of the 90% of the profit. B gets 5 by 14. This is the required answer. This is the required answer. What is the unknown here? The value of P is the unknown here. Technically, what is unknown here is the value of the P. P itself is the unknown. If I get to know the P, my case is done. All right, this is closed. Okay, so how do I understand this? This is equal to how much? This is equal to 36900. This is equal to 36900. That's what is given. The earnings of A is given. One equation, one variable, you would get the value of P from here. All right, you would definitely get the value of P from here. All right, P from here. Good. All right, now so how do I get this? All right, you can take this. All right, now this 10% of P I can write as P by 10. Let 10 or 0.1, whichever way that you prefer to write decimal or fraction. 90% can be written as 9 by 10. That's your choice, whether you want to write it as a decimal, fraction, or that's your choice there. Okay, so I will take P by 10 common. If I take P by 10 common, I'll be left with 1 plus 3 by 14 in the bracket, which should be equal to 36900. Fair enough. All right, now do this quick calculation out there. Let's do this particular quick calculation. So therefore, all right, now this has become 27 by 14, 9 into 3, 27 by 14. So therefore you would say that, okay, this calculation P by 10 is nothing but 41 by 14 times of 36900. A beautiful number. This is 41 one time, this is 41 9 times. A beautiful number there. There's a beautiful number. Therefore you would understand that, okay, therefore P is nothing but, P is nothing but, okay, let me take P by 14 itself. P divided by 10, P by 10 into 1 by 14. Let me write till here. P 1 by 10 is nothing but 900. Alright, that's nothing but 900. You may wonder why I took that value. Check from calculation perspective. What is this, friends? Alright, this is nothing but 9 by 10 into P 5 by 14. This is the answer that is required. Out of this, a lot of common factors are there. Therefore, don't over calculate. That's my point with this particular question. Out of this, I can write this as P by 10 into 1 by 14. I can rewrite this in my mind. Basically, all this is happening in my mind. By 10 into all it now. So what is that extra portion out here? The extra portion here is 9 and 5, which is 45. That is the required answer. So I know the entire value of this, right? Isn't it? Entire value of this is known to me. P by 10, 1 by 14 is nothing but 900. The whole of this is known to me. Therefore, simply will do 900 into 45. All right, which would become my answer. All right, which would become my answer there. All right, 900 into 45. So point here is already you don't have to necessarily get the value of P and substitute and do the cancellation. If you are seeing some common threads, between what you are expecting, this expectation also can be in your mind or P can be on the piece of paper, does not matter. If you know what you are expecting, keep it aside and then just substitute for that common expectation and figure out what is going to be your answer. All right, what is going to be your answer? Good. I guess all of you got this point. Let's proceed. Let's proceed. That's earnings of B there, friends. That's earnings of B. Let's go to the next question. Beautiful question. One of the very beautiful questions. Beautiful question. We are bang on time. All right, we are going to close with this beautiful question. We'll close with this. Read this. It takes time to read. Get used to. Some of the questions are lengthy to read, but definitely not as lengthy as RC. Right? Nice business case. One of the very nice business cases here. So what is happening here? Already says that, okay, there are three people who are the investors, R, B, and A. They invested in the ratio. Capitals are invested in the ratio 3:2:2. That's fine. That's fine here for investments, capitals. Alright, that's good enough for us because I don't need to know exactly how much they invested. This is enough 3 because that's what we do. Even if they give the big numbers, we simplify to get to this form itself. Then alright, now there is another person by name Prabhudas P. So now he's handling the business, therefore he gets 20% of the profit at the end of the year. Supposed 20%. If he exceeds the expectation, he may also take 25% of the profit. Alright, if he performs well, that's given. Performs well, it can be get on to the 25%. Therefore, what happens? The remaining folks will share the remaining 80% of the profit. The others will share the 80% of the profit in this particular case, or they will share 75% of the profit in this particular case. 75% of the profit. Either they share 80% of the profit, or 80% of the profit, or they share 75% of the profit. Depends upon which case. All right, now is it the usual performance or is it an extraordinary performance? Based on the performance of P, all right, others would share the remaining money in the ratio 3:2:2. Now what happened? One of the years, first they gave him 20% share. All right, these investors decided, okay, you deserve 20% share. But then Prabhudas bargained. All right, he bargained and he said that, look, all right, now so I deserve more. So deserved additional 5% as well. Finally, after reviewing once again, they realized that yes, this is a very good performance put up by this particular man. Therefore, they revised it by another 5%. Therefore, now he has to get there. Now he has to get 25%, not 20. Earlier it started with 20, but he deserved now 25%. Now look at this, because of which Mr. Ashok, there is one person by name Ashok. Because of this particular change, Ashok has to give away 2000 rupees. 2 corresponds to 2000 rupees. Now tell me, simple. If Ashok is giving out 2000, which means what? Earlier they shared 80%. Now they are sharing 75%. That's a case 2. Case 1 was this 80%. Now they have to share the 70. Case 2. Case 2 is what? 75%. Therefore, Ashok is saying that okay, now so therefore I have to give back 20,000. 2 corresponds to 20,000. Therefore, this 2 also corresponds to 20,000. Hey, what about this 3? This 3 corresponds to 30,000. Therefore, how much they are giving it back to Prabhudas? 30,000, 20,000 and 20,000. Therefore, they are giving back 70,000 to Prabhudas. 70,000 more Prabhudas is getting. He is getting 70,000 more. Now look at this. What is the difference, friends? Scaling. So now this is 20,000 or 20% of the profit he was getting earlier. Now he's getting 25% of the profit. So whatever he was getting, he's getting 70,000 more. What do you mean by this 70,000 more? The gap between these numbers. Hey, what is the gap between these numbers? 5% of the profit should be equal to what? 70,000. 5% of the profit should be equal to what? 70,000. Therefore, what is the 100% of the profit into 20? All right, because 5 has to become 5 into what? All right, into 20. So therefore, you will say that 70,000 into 20. 70,000 into 20 is the complete profit here. All right, therefore 40. All right, now 14 followed by 5 zeros. 14 lakhs is the answer there. All right, 14 lakhs is the answer. 14 lakhs is the answer. Simple question. So look, all right, this is a kind of a mental question. Trust me, it's a mental question. How long does it take to write this 20,000, 20,000, 30 and 70,000 and saying that, man, this 70,000 is equal to 5% of the profit. Therefore, 70,000 into this. Trust me, reading time is involved here. You just have to understand the case, but the solving takes less than a minute. Once you read and understand, maybe that takes about a minute or so. About a minute. And solving is just a 30 seconds or whatever. Nevertheless, not more than 2 minutes for this CAF question. Right? Beautiful question out here. So I will close it here. I spoke about the averages, simple average. I illustrated very clearly the deviation method, which is the very important primary method there. And then we talked a little bit about the weighted average. Weighted average, a very important point that we learned in the weighted average is the weights can be ratios. Weights can be ratios. There is a quantitative aspect. The quantitative aspect can be a ratio. That's what we understood from that particular point. Very importantly, right? Very importantly. Then we talked about the consecutive natural numbers, the concept of consecutive natural numbers, the scale of 0.5, the importance of scale of 0.5. Then we spoke about the partnership, in which we also talked about the passive and active partners as well. So that briefs, that gives the that covers the fundamental of this particular chapter. We press the throttle a little deeper when we go to the allegations chapter. All right, come prepared. If you do a little bit of pre-reads for the allegation, that would definitely help. Get into the habit of the pre-reads. If you do a little bit of a pre-reads, then we can start pressing the throttle a little deeper. All right, here we go. All right, that's from me for now. So I will see you in the next lecture. Bye till then and stay blessed.